2012 is actually 2020 in the 13-month creator's calendar, and that is the start of the apocalypse. Apocalypse means the unveiling. So we broke covenant, the Haikos Hebrews, and we went into captivity. So we were sold to the bad shepherd, who happens to be the Pope. That's why he holds the shepherd staff. So he hosted these to all our lands. And the 400 years are up. And he, before he died, he said it, that the lands go back to the original owners because we're in the year of the Jubilee. And Trump, who happens to be a Jesuit, a soldier to the Pope, made it his personal mission to go after the red nations, to start with ICE. This ICE for ISIS, he's going around and he's gathering all the red nations and putting them in FEMA death camps, because that's what they are. That's what they're doing. And they're starting with us, but they're coming after everybody else. So pay attention, because that's what they're doing.
So when I said race was first created by the Catholic Church, this is not what I was referring to, but this is correct. What I was referring to was around the 1100s, during Alexios III's reign, the Catholic Church implemented something that was blood purity. Anyone who was Anglo-Christian was pure blood. Literally everyone else was unpure and they were worthy of death. That was the Crusades. But the document of discovery of 1493, this was the Catholic decree that said any Christian that looked like me had the rightful claim of any and all land and waterways in the world. It basically says that all indigenous people are not human. And this is still in effect today. So the Catholic Church believes that if you are black or brown, you are not human. The Catholic Church believes that all land and water belongs to the Anglo-Christian man. And yet, how many of us allies and accomplices are still Christians? Learn up.
I explained this before. In America, which is Canaan, both nations were here. The swarthy, dark races, and also the red nations. We were strangers in a strange land, so we came and settled in the land of Canaan. And over time, we were given the land of Canaan. So as you can see here, all natives are not citizens of the United States. The descendants of the Aborigines and those of African origins are not entitled. So see, there's two different captivities. So there is one on the Genesis 9, those are for the Canaanites, on the Hamites, the curses of them, and then there is Deuteronomy. So there is two different curses. So when you look at the map, which I'm going to show you, so we were given the land of Canaan. So the Canaan is on the east coast. That's where Mount Zion is, our reservation is. And on the east coast, that was where the king of Nineveh was, where the 13 colonies were founded. By the way, those are Moors. They founded the 13 colonies, and Moors were Muslims, and that's why you see that rising right now. So that whole area on the East Coast, well, that area was, of course, a lot of black people were settled there. That area, again, those were Hamites. So both nations were here, what they call African Americans. So there's two different captivities. So that area on the East Coast, that is Babylon. Again, Nimrod was the king of Babylon, and Nimrod was a Hamite. So this is Queen Elizabeth's brooch. As you can see, that's an angel standing on top of a Hebrew or red nation. So ICE is going around paying a nice bonus to hunt our people down, who they call criminals, because that's what they do. Nazis always use scare tactics to have your neighbors turn on each other. And I'm going to tell you, if you do this, you're going to have blood on your hands. This is not the first time they've done this, because they used to pay nicely for every scalp of every Indian, child, woman, and man back in the days. And that's what they're doing. They're paying people to hunt our people down right now. And remember when Biden was in office in 2020 and he opened the border to let our people in because that was a snare and our children suddenly went missing?
Country is doomed. It is doomed not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
And for everybody that's fighting for the Constitution, our people are not represented in the Constitution. Neither are women. And again, two separate categories because you're going to see that it doesn't protect the Native Americans or blacks because we do not fall under the same category. You're going to see, and women. And for the white people, they're fighting so much because this Constitution is really to protect y'all and your property. This Constitution is going to go away because they're playing you guys so that you guys can hunt our people down. And then with the digital system that's coming, there's going to be a new constitution, a worldwide digital constitution that's going to come with it. So this constitution is going to go away, period. So what they're doing is they're using you guys to hunt down our people, and then they're going to do away with it, and your guys are going to get played.
That the removal of this clear and simple language condemning white supremacy reveals that the true purpose of this bill is to teach our students a whitewashed version of American history?
No, absolutely not.
It reads like a how-to guide in historical whitewashing. Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the writings of Frederick Douglass?
I am.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the writings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
Yes.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the history of Native Americans? Yet the new version of the bill from the Senate, this is not the bill we all passed as a House, but the Senate's version, it still includes the writings of Alexis de Tocqueville, and he's not even an American. Could that be because he's a white man? By my count, the new version from the Senate, again, this is not the bill we passed as the House, this is the bill from the Senate, it removes 9 historical figures of color and 6 female historical figures from the bill, which means that all mentions of people of color or women have been removed from this bill. Is that correct?
I'll take your word for it, Representative.
Could an example...
Are you guys not seeing what they're doing? You think these concentration camps are just for immigrants? Do you think fortifying D.C. is just for show? The denial is strong with a lot of you. He's sending U.S. troops, the National Guard right now, to 19 different locations. My guess is going to be all the large cities that have huge black and brown populations. You want to know why he's doing that? It's to make sure that he has all the black and brown people contained, especially when he launches war with Mexico. See, I don't think a lot of you realize how important this really is. First of all, they have been mentioning Manifest Destiny since the beginning of all of this shit. Manifest Destiny was westward expansion. See, they wanted all of Mexico, and they only got 55% of it. And that's because Mexico has a shit ton of resources. Gold, silver, copper, lumber, oil, and lithium. And the United States is pissed off that Mexico nationalized its lithium, because that means U.S. corporations can't put their greedy ass paws into lithium and exploit indigenous peoples and their lands. So they create a boogeyman, the cartels, and deem them terrorists. Does this story sound familiar? Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. I don't know how many countries in Africa at this point, the Congo, Sudan, Palestine. Also, during a time of war, which is why all this gerrymandering bullshit is all a fucking distraction, during a time of war, Congress can change the date of elections. States can postpone elections due to exigent circumstances. They don't need a gerrymander to postpone elections or rig elections. And third, Mexico has the largest population of indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere. 90% of Mexico's population, to include the pueblos originarios and the detribalized folks, 90% of the population. And again, Manifest Destiny means they need to wipe out indigenous people to take the lands and the resources. This is indigenous genocide. But we won't be the only ones being genocided. Everybody else will get pulled right into it if they don't like you, if you don't fit their idea of whiteness. They are preparing for war while y'all are worried about going to prison if you disrupt their supply chain. We're beyond that. We're deep into this. And some of you still ain't seeing it. Let me put it to you this way. The United States is Israel, and they are trying to make Mexico Palestine. And on a deeper level, the United States has always been Israel. The United States perfected what Israel is doing right now. And now they are going to expand on what they started 500 years ago. They want full domination. They are attacking the Apaches right now because the Apaches are refusing to let them come into their spiritual lands and mine copper. I swear, fear is so fucking powerful that you are more afraid of freedom than you are of fascism. Because if you weren't afraid to be free, you'd be standing up and not worried about getting put into a prison cell. Because what's coming is way worse than prison.
The chilling and downright shocking escalation of ICE tactics against the residents of Chicago. the night, hundreds of armed federal agents and police, backed up by riot trucks, smoke grenades, and helicopters, breached fences and busted doors in an immigration raid on an entire apartment building on the city's south side. They pulled dozens of residents from their homes and zip ties, including children, some of them without any clothes. They then held some outside for hours and dragged the others into rented vans.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
They zip tied the kids together. ICE put out a statement saying they were pursuing Trinidad gang members. But U.S. citizens living in the building say they were detained too. The cops told them that if they had any unrelated warrants, they wouldn't be going back home. 37 people were ultimately arrested after agents separated children from their parents on the street. And if you're looking at this and asking yourself, how is this legal? That is the right question to ask. And it has kind of an answer. And to understand it, you have to go back to Los Angeles this summer, where federal immigration agents started pushing the envelope on orders from the White House. They raided Home Depot parking lots and Walmart lots, and they grabbed people they saw. Near one Home Depot, masked agents with batons grabbed Narcisco Barranco, who has lived in the U.S. for more than 30 years and has 3 sons serving the Marine Corps. Agents beat Barranco on the ground, dislocating his shoulder before detaining him. In Van Nuys, agents raided a car wash, remembering this, sending patrons and workers scrambling before the 79-year-old owner, who is a U.S. citizen named Rafi, tried to ask them what they were doing.
That is when Rafi was taken down by agents and eventually handcuffed. Rafi says he was injured in the process.
And they sit on me. It's in my elbow about a week ago. And it's in my arm.
Rafi says he and 5 others at his car wash were taken to a federal detention center downtown. We're still working to learn more about why they were detained.
And that man is not alone.
Look how you got my hand twisted that I'm American, bro. Yo, these guys are literally based off of skin color. My homie was born here just because of the way he looks.
Agents kept stopping people they suspected of being undocumented immigrants for no reason other than they weren't obviously white. Like Brian Gavidia, the man you saw there, the 29-year-old American. He wasn't arrested, but he says agents went through his phone for 20 minutes and kept his real ID card. Now, these are obvious violations of people's core constitutional civil rights, their right to equal protection and the freedom from unlawful searches and seizures. And victims filed a class action lawsuit. And after an entire bench trial, a federal judge sided with those victims and ended the ICE sweeps. And in her ruling, she wrote, "It is illegal to conduct roving patrols which identify people based upon race alone, aggressively question them, and then detain them without a warrant, without their consent, and without reasonable suspicion that they are with status." Yes, it is. Yes, it is. An appeals court upheld her injunction against ICE. You have to stop doing this. And so the Trump administration took the issue to the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, last month, the court's 6-3 conservative majority voted to just let Trump and ICE continue for now, as the case works its way up, to use racial profiling in their immigration raids, halting the lower court's decision, saying, go ahead. Now, they gave no reasoning or explanation for their decision, silent, except Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote a short concurring opinion saying there's absolutely no problem whatsoever with racially motivated stops by law enforcement. Quote, "If the officers learn the individual they stopped is a U.S. citizen or otherwise lawfully in the U.S., they promptly let the individual go." Welcome to the era of what critics call the Kavanaugh stop. Carte blanche for ICE to continue violent, warrantless raids and stops all over the country to undocumented immigrants, lawful residents, and American citizens alike, like Leonardo Garcia Venegas. You see him there, being cuffed roughly by ICE agents on a construction site where he was working. Vargas showed the agents his real ID as proof of citizenship, and they told him he was lying. And it took hours to get him out of custody, so not exactly expeditious. And then, get this, 2 weeks later, ICE arrested him again at another work site. He's now suing the government. The consequence of all this is what we're seeing now in the dead of night in Chicago. Dozens of federal agents raiding an entire apartment building with kids in it, just to see what they can find. It's the most egregious abuse of our basic rights as Americans I've seen in a long time, maybe my lifetime. And it comes 2 weeks after Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem posted a hype video of another violent ICE raid with helicopters and grenades, this time on a house in the Chicago suburbs. And guess what? 2 U.S. citizens were mistakenly arrested. You know, there's a reason the American founders put the right to be free from unlawful searches and seizures in the Bill of Rights from the start. Masked secret police profiling people and now targeting entire apartment buildings, making everyone prove they're not guilty of something, is the province of tyrants. It is the opposite of American. And I don't think Americans will stand for it, nor should they.
Don't scroll. This information needs to get out to as many people as possible. I have been really mindful about what I'm posting here lately, but I just saw a video called Freaky Friday, and it pertains to the kids, and it is so disturbing. Apparently there is a new strategy or tactic or operation, if you will, that ICE has called Freaky Friday. And what they're doing is they are targeting kids 14 and under, unaccompanied. Right now it's 14 and under. It will become 10 and under at some point. But what they are doing is they are detaining them, and they are giving them options, scare tactics, if you will. The first one is they waive their, I think it's called TRV right, which means they waive their right to be protected under any sort of circumstance that allows them to be here. Then they can go back. The other one is they offer them $2,500 to go back to their country. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was 14 years old, $2,500 was like an enormous amount of money, okay? The third threat they give is that if they don't comply with any of that, their parents will be arrested. So if you've seen the movie Freaky Friday, essentially the mom and the kid change spots. That is what they're calling it, Freaky Friday. So it's basically tit for tat. Either you go or your parents go. This is disturbing. This is disgusting. And this is not the kind of country that our ancestors established for us. This is,
yes, it is
absolutely the most disturbing thing I've heard. So put it out there. We need to watch our kids. We need to, and it's not just Hispanics, every race. I don't know if you saw what's going on in Chicago. They're picking up every race right now. So please pass this along, spread the word, and keep your kids safe.